I'll be like, we're just gonna stick with it. Welcome all of our guests present as well as those attending the live streaming. And to our candidates, I applaud you for your interest in seeking a board seat. Although an elected, non-paying monetary position with no individual authority, once elected, you will get paid 100-fold in being a part of an educational team in an extraordinary district. As leaders in the district, you will need vision, courage, integrity, and a commitment of time, coupled with a willingness to learn and listen. As a board member, you become eyes and ears in the district, ambassadors who are responsible for delivering a positive face of the district, for submitting a budget to residents, and for setting the district policy and establishing goals. I am your facilitator this evening. I'm Sandra Rufo. I'm the president of the Broome-Taggabose's Board of Education and also the Area 4 Director for the New York State School Boards Association, and I represent 75 districts in central New York. Our candidates this evening are Mr. Michael Ricada, and if you would like, there is a complete bio available on your website. I'm going to read a brief bio, and then after I do that for all of the candidates, I will tell you what the format is for this evening. First, we have Mr. Michael Ricada, who currently sits on the Maine-Endwell board. He is the branch manager of NBT Bank of Newark Valley. Mr. Ricada is a Maine-Endwell alumni and has 3 children, 1 child in middle school and 2 children in high school. Mr. Ricada has served on the board since 2012. He is being opposed for the seat currently held by Michael Ricada by Mrs. Melinda Spooner. She's an office manager at Salvatore R. Paratore CPA. Mrs. Spooner has lived in the district for 13 years and has 3 children, 1 child in the middle school, 1 child at Maine Memorial, and 1 4-year-old. Mrs. Spooner is running for the seat currently held by Mr. Michael Ricada. Next, we have Mr. Todd McCarthy, who works in distance education technology at Cornell University. Mr. McCarthy has lived in the district for 15 years and has 2 children, one who graduated in 2017 and one who is currently in high school. Mr. McCarthy has served on the board since 2011. And the seat that Mr. Todd McCarthy currently holds, Mr. Peter Bolzani is also seeking that seat, and is retired but substitutes in each of the Maine-Endwell buildings. Mr. Bolzani has 3 children, all graduates of Maine-Endwell, and he is running for the seat currently held by Mr. Todd McCarthy. And lastly, we have Mr. William Powell, who's retired from the Broome-Taggabose's. He is a Maine-Endwell alum and has 2 children, both of whom have graduated from Maine-Endwell also. Mr. Powell has served on the board since 2012 and is running unopposed. The format for this evening's program is as follows. I will introduce each of you, which I have done, and the bio is available. Each candidate will have an opportunity to respond to a series of questions. You will have 3 minutes or less if you so choose to take less time to answer the question. Mrs. Andrews, the board clerk, will serve as the timekeeper. I ask that you stay within the time frame allotted. You may finish a sentence if mid-sentence when the time expires, but ask that you don't continue so we may hear your thoughts on as many questions as possible. I will rotate who goes first with each question, and without further delay, we will begin at this end of the table with Mr. Ricada. And the first question is, what has motivated you? And the question's up there so that you can refer to it, and you'll all answer the same question. What has motivated you to seek election or re-election to the Maine-Endwell board, and what qualities do you possess that you feel will contribute to the effectiveness of the board?
Should I pick up the mic?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Hi, yes, I started running for the board back in 2012 when the district was going through a severe financial crisis. At the time, I felt that with a background in finance, career in banking, that I'd be able to offer, a perspective of like fiscal conservative to try to balance the budget and assist with that process and try to get our budget back in alignment and then hopefully set ourselves for the future. I had a history of a parent that was on the board, and I just kind of wanted to give back to the community. I got 3 kids in the district. At the time they were younger, programs were being eliminated, and I had some serious concerns about the programs that were being eliminated. So that was kind of what drove me to do it. To maintain on the board or remain on the board is my goal. I still hope to have that fiscal conservative perspective. Again, make sure that we try to set ourselves up for the future, get ourselves with contracts that are sustainable for the long term, and, continue to just make sure that we can provide a premier education here at Maine-Endwell.
Thank you. Mrs. Spooner?
As you heard in my bio, I have 3 young children, and so that is probably my main motivation. One's just entering into the school district next year. I have a child that's in 4th grade, and I have one in 6th grade. So my motivation really is to be able to make sure that decisions are being made and to be part of that decision process, to have the best education that's provided for all of the students here. What qualities do you possess that will feel to contribute to the effectiveness of that? Well, because I'm motivated as far as my children being involved in the schools, therefore I have made a lot of connections between the students, between the families. I volunteer in the school districts. I'm part of the PTA. So I feel that my ability of having to know what's going on with schools and having the connections to the families and to the students here will definitely be to contribute to the effectiveness of making sure that all the students are having any opportunity that's provided. So my main motivation is just to make sure that students are getting the best education possible here at Maine-Endwell.
Thank you. Mr. McCarthy?
When my children reached school age, my wife, who is an alum of Maine-Endwell, informed me that we would be moving to the Maine-Endwell School District so my kids could attend this school.
I think so.
Jamie?
There you go.
All right. So, there we go. When I first moved into the district, was at the request of my wife, who was a Maine-Endwell alum, and the decision was made early on that we would attend Maine-Endwell School for our kids because this is a phenomenal school district. My great-grandmother, when she came to the country in 1914, was a huge proponent of education. She raised 4 daughters and put her 4 daughters through public education and all 4 of them through higher education in Depression-era America. That has been a permeating factor throughout my upbringing of the importance of education. And when my kids were in school, it was my decision my motivation to go and do what I could to help shape their education as best I can and make decisions that would benefit them. As far as moving forward and why I want to continue to be on this school board at this wonderful district, my career is in education technology and distance education out at Cornell University. I previously did instructional design with Springbrook, who does services for development of disabled. And being part of what's the future for education and trying to help push that forward and give our students the best opportunity and best chance they have to succeed, not only during their time here, but also in the future when they leave, and hopefully come back and visit us. The district, just like what Mr. Mercado had said, when we first came on the board was experiencing some financial difficulty. We've taken the last 5 years and really rebuilt the finances of this district. We're still having difficulty in regards to unexpected costs that come our way. Health insurance plays a factor in that. There's still work to be done. And there's a feeling for us that we haven't quite finished what we started 5 years ago. And I've taken the time to pursue our local legislators, to pursue our, on the federal level, Claudia Tenney's office, and try and push for public education and funding. And we're having some success. We're seeing some success on that level. We're seeing some awareness and awakening. So I'm certainly motivated now more than when I even first came on the board to continue on and serve this district.
Mr. Lozani?
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming. As part of my bio, which I don't think was in there, was that I worked for the state of New York for 31 years, and as part of that, I was a member of the Public Education Federation's negotiating team for a lot of their contracts, the last several contracts that they had. And I feel that I bring to the board that experience of the negotiating, ability to communicate well. I'm very passionate about our education and the system that's here at Maine-Endwell. I substitute on an almost 4 days a week basis, and I really see being in the schools has been quite an eye-opener for me. I see what's going on in the schools. I see how some of the budget decisions have affected those in a negative way. I really like to look at some of those issues that we have and what's going on with that. I feel that I can be a valuable member of the board. I want to seek re-election because I really believe that we need to go in another direction. We need a new leadership. We need new leadership. We need to go in another direction and look at some alternatives to making our budget decisions at Maine-Endwell.
Thank you. Mr. Powell?
Good evening. Thank you for coming. Thank you for taking the time, Ms. Rufo. I know you're very busy. Well, I'll go back to when I went to seek election to the board. It actually started about 16, 17 years ago. The board, we were looking at full-day kindergarten in our district with some rezoning. It was actually the full-day kindergarten I was interested in, so I attended all the board meetings. A lot of the board meetings were a little confrontational, held in the auditorium because of the crowds. I was very impressed with the board at the time, how they maintained their professionalism and attitude all through the process. So, about 7 years ago, I thought, okay, now's the time. You know, I was on boards locally, and I figured the school board is the best way I could help out the school district. Not knowing they were going to go into financial distress, but we came through that with the decision of the board. All 7 of us made some tough decisions for a short and long term in the district. I think it's paid off. So I'm seeking re-election to keep up the good work. But some of the reasons why I think I'm good on the board is because my time spent the last 14 years at BOCES. I was managing the business office as controller of the business office, so I put budgets together. I went out to several districts and I had to actually present the administrative and capital budgets to the districts at their board meetings, so I got to see how their boards worked and operated. So I felt like I picked up a lot of experience there. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. Our second question will start with Mrs. Spooner, and we'll go down, so everyone has an opportunity to answer first. And the question is, what do you see as the primary work and most important responsibility of the board?
I believe a big responsibility of the board is that it does get involved with, or has the community become more involved. So I would like to find ways and research ways of, to reach out more to the community and have them being involved and coming to the board meetings. Obviously the primary work is, to me, is making decisions as far as what's happening in our schools. As far as whether or not we're going to implement a keyboarding program for our elementary students. As far as making sure our teachers are getting support that they need. So I believe it's really, the main purpose is we're in charge of having final decisions on a lot of things that are happening in our school district. And I believe it's important for us to just look and make sure that those decisions, it all comes back to the students. And that it is what is appropriate for our students. It is what is best for our students. So our primary work is for us to be able to come together to conclusions, to decisions that we are making sure is just providing the best education possible, and to continue with the great things that are happening at Maine-Endwell, and just to make sure that we are just having the interest of the students at heart.
Thank you. Mr. McCarthy?
I think it's the single most important thing for the school board is the hiring and the oversight of the superintendent. The superintendent is our educational leader in the district. He is the CEO. The school board operates as a board, and the superintendent is the one who has feet on the ground executing those decisions. We are fortunate to have a fantastic leader in our current superintendent. Just recently, he was awarded the Founders Day Award by the Parent Teacher Student Association for his great work in the community and in the district. But holding that individual accountable for the things that the community wants to see out of their educational institution is another key factor of the school board. Oversight of the budget is another great factor that the school board members have to wrestle with. Now, oversight does not mean that we are choosing each and every dollar that's being spent and how it's being spent. We have great administrators and educators throughout the entire buildings of the Maine-Endwell School District who contribute to those decisions and feed that information to the school board. So it's our role as school board members to take that information, look for gaps in that information, and request more information if needed, and make those decisions of spending the funds that we have for the district to help push it forward and do what our mission statement is: provide a fair education for our students. Finally, policy. Policy is a huge factor of a school board member of determining where we want to be and what tone we want to set with the district. We've done some very great work with our policy committee in retooling our technology policy to allow the integration of home devices and devices in the classroom to bring technology to the students at a much more rapid pace than we see in other districts at this point in time. We are one-to-one in the middle school, which means that one device for each student in the middle school, and we are pushing that forward into the high school and into the elementary schools as well. So there is an expectation for this community that all sides of the district are served, from academic to athletic to music to arts, and the role of the school board is to make sure that those things are happening, overseeing the budget, holding the superintendent accountable, and setting policy to help perpetuate that.
Mr. Balsani?
Yes, Todd Henson of the primary works, of course, is overseeing the budget and providing a quality education for all our students. And also to get more involvement and input from all the stakeholders, including the teachers. You currently, right now, you don't have any advocate for the teachers that sits on the board. You have one for the students, but you don't have one for the teachers. And I think that would be a good thing to implement, policy to implement, that you have an advocate for the teacher, non-voting advocate, but some involving the teachers more in what's going on in setting the policies, as Mr. McCarthy said, and setting those policies and overseeing the budget and overseeing the superintendent. Again, I think that the education here at Maine-Endwell has its reputation as being very good. I'm very happy my students went through and did very well also. I think there's room for improvement. I think as you're overseeing the budget as part of that, I don't think you should be cutting teachers and aides at the expense of making other decisions like buying a piece of property and developing the property when you know that you're short a lot of money from the health care, and that you're still going to spend that, and you're going to know you're going to have to lay off teachers and aides when there was other alternative ways that we could have looked at it. Okay, there's many other ways that we could have found the money, at the very least, to not lay off the teachers or the aides, because if you go into a kindergarten classroom that has 23 students and no aide, okay, which I have done several times, I will tell you it is not an easy job, and that teacher is deserving of every penny that she gets. It's very, very difficult when you have that many children and no aide, and we want to cut the aides, and the aides are the Band-Aid that's holding They are the ones that are holding these struggling students together, okay? If you remove these aides, you're going to see more problems, and especially in the math area, okay, with these students, okay? It's very important that we find ways to balance that budget without cutting the teachers or the aides. And that's basically what I think what we should be doing, overseeing the policies, as Todd said, and overseeing the budget is the main concern.
Thank you, Mr. Bolzani. Mr. Powell?
Yes, the primary work I see of the board is to make sure every student succeeds, giving them an opportunity to succeed. That means giving them everything they need, which means giving the teachers what they need. The teachers need all the tools to be successful with the students. I'm fortunate enough lately to spend some time in schools. I will tell you this, I have the luxury of spending like an hour with a couple of students, but I can't imagine spending 8 hours a day with 20 students trying to do the job the teacher does. The teacher's job is very difficult, so we need to ensure we give them all the tools they need, which means the students will succeed. That's about it.
Thank you. Mr. Okada?
I could probably spend 3 minutes just reiterating everything that Mr. McCarthy had said. Much like a corporate board, the responsibility of the board is making sure that we have the best CEO to run that business. Our responsibility, first and foremost, is hiring and making sure the superintendent is doing the best job possible of disseminating information, making sure that our curriculum is sound, helping us with policies. We recently just reviewed all of our policies top to bottom and have been actively working on that all year long, making sure that all of our policies are still up to date, make sense, and trying to find ways to improve and streamline that. We also, a major important factor obviously is our budget, making sure that we're fiscally responsible. You know, to Mr. Balzani's point, there's actually several budget line items that don't overlap, and we're not allowed to use that funding for other items. So for example, with the property purchase this year, that came out of a reserve fund that could only be used for capital improvements, could not be used to fund staffing, benefits, retirement, anything of that sort. So understanding that just how the finances work, understanding how the money can be spent and will be spent is also very important. And I feel that I bring that experience to the table, having been on the board for 6 years, with the background, like I said, in finance and just learning. You know, honestly, when I came on the board 6 years ago, I did not understand at the time everything, the way all the numbers work with state aid runs and how we can spend money. And so it was definitely a learning experience. You know, and then of course there's all the state mandates as well, as far as curriculum and programs that have to be maintained, whereas others are optional. So things that I felt were very important at the time, unfortunately, had to be eliminated because we had to maintain other programs that are required by state. So I think that's about it. Like I said, superintendent, policies, and budget.
Thank you. All right, our third question, Mr. McCarthy, we will ask you to answer first. Can you, should you, support a board decision that you are not in favor of and voted against?
The school board is, here in Maine-Endwell, 7 members. Each member of the school board, whether they were just elected or whether they've served on the board for a dozen years, has the same weight and authority for the board. Each vote counts the same, 1 to 7. We have great discussions in our board meetings. There has been times when I didn't agree with the way that the rest of the members of the board were discussing an item. But the reality of it is, whether the vote comes down to 4-3, 5-2, 6-1, if you vote against something, if it's passed by the majority of the board, you are a member of the board, you serve the board, so you support that decision. The role of a board member to vigorously debate those items. If you can't state your case and convince other members of the board of what your idea is or why something should be different, we have 6 other great minds on the school board. We are fortunate in our district that we have a very caring and intelligent school board that each member has some sort of either fiscal or educational background within their career work. So if you are on the wrong side, you really have to do due diligence and research and spend the time to inform somebody of why they should change their mind. So you also have to trust in the process that if as a board member you vote against something and it's approved, that you have a great colleagues that have made that decision and you need to support that and move forward. And that's what I've done, and I think everybody on the board has done that throughout my tenure.
Thank you. Mr. Bolzani?
Yes, I definitely could support a board decision that I voted against. It is a democracy, like we said, it's, as long as you're informed and you get all the information you need, it's critical that you get all the information that is needed. I think sometimes decisions are made without all the information, and sometimes that information comes in late. And sometimes you have to change your decision based on the information that comes in after you made your original thoughts and processing of what you thought you would vote for or against, and information comes in late. Sometimes that could change your mind, so I definitely would support it. And if you want to work together with mutual respect and cooperation and support of the board, then yes, you have to do that. Sometimes you'll just have to live with a decision that you're not popular with.
Thank you. Mr. Powell?
I think both you gentlemen answered the question quite well. I've been part of the board and not voted for something, so I was in a minority. But talking through it during our normal session and our executive sessions, I realized it's for the best of the school district, and it's easy to go along with the decision even though you're not originally for it. So I would say yes. It's easy for me to go along with the vote and support it.
Thank you. Mr. O'Dea?
Yeah, as far as supporting any board decision, we have a great group currently and even formerly, people that were with the board. We're a good mix of educators and professionals and all college-educated individuals. We don't always agree, but we always respectfully maybe disagree at the moment. But no matter what the vote is, we always support it and move on. I can speak from personal experience that there are many times that I may have had a preconceived notion where I may have been either in favor of something or against something, and after having that conversation, discussion, I changed my vote. So again, it's great having that group of people that are educated and bring a lot of experience. And like I said, I definitely support whatever decision we come to as a democracy.
Thank you. Mrs. Spooner?
Well, it's a little bit challenging answering the question last because I might sound like I'm repeating everybody else. But yes, I can, if I'm the only one voting against something that everybody else has agreed for, I can go ahead and be in favor of that. But prior to that, I would definitely, as everybody said, would do my research. I would present what I believe in. I would present my research to all the other board members. And I would listen to what all the other board members had to say as well. If I'm still outruled by that, then yes, I can go along and agree with the vote that might not be in favor of my decision.
Thank you. All right, the next question, our fourth question, Mr. Bolzani, you will be first. What do you see as the greatest opportunities and challenges for the Maine-Endwell district?
As far as the greatest opportunities, we have a chance here now to address some of the issues that need to be addressed here. Some of our challenges being, the healthcare issue, how it's gotten more and more, keeps getting more and more in a deficit. I think we've been rather slow to look at alternative solutions and answers to that problem. It's the third year now that it just has been, we've been in a big deficit, and the deficit keeps growing. I do understand now that we're finally looking at some other areas, some other types of insurance, PPOs and HMOs, besides just the one provider, and I think that's a step in the right direction. So that's a challenge for us. Our challenge is, another challenge is to keep the highest quality teachers that we can, okay, and in supporting those teachers and giving them the tools that they need. I think that's a challenge in the budget negotiations. We always seem to tend to look at that and as that the teachers are kind of expendable sometimes in the budget. And I think we need to look at that and look at alternative ways that we can look at that challenge. Our opportunities that we have now are in technology, to move forward in the technology, the keyboarding, starting our elementary students with keyboarding is a really important thing. The learning how to use that keyboard and type in every area that you're going to have in school is vital. And I think we've been a little slow in addressing that, and that's a challenge, and both a challenge and an opportunity for us.
Thank you. Mr. Powell?
One of the main challenges is engaging our youngest learners, our students. We've done a great job of that the last couple of summers with our summer program. It's engaging the youngest learners and making it exciting for them. Also, it brings the parents in too, and they get to see what the school is like. They get involved with it. So glad to say that we're going to support that again this year. It's a great program. One of the other challenges I see is the mental health issue. I've been fortunate in my previous job to be working with the senator's office, and last year we put on a whole seminar, whole week session of training the mental health trainers. And 3 years ago we did the same thing for school security and safety through Lewis's office. Of course, with Senator Akshar recently. But doing stuff like that to make sure we're safe and secure. And the mental training, I think, is critical for success of our school district too. I'm starting to look at maybe getting retiree base of people. Maybe we can get trained also, be in the schools in case some kids want to talk to us. I'm not sure if it's a grade level school or middle school when the kids start talking, but you need to identify those kids that need help and do it now. So with the mental health training, I think it's a great opportunity for us. Thank you.
Mr. Rokita?
I'll start with the positive first. We'll do the opportunities. I feel that all the time I run into people since I work outside the district that always kind of jokingly say, oh, Maine-Endwell, I hate Maine-Endwell. But it's always more of an envy thing. Anytime you start talking, they always start talking about how great the district is, how great our education is, how great our athletics program is, how great our music program is. I think that's something we need to celebrate. I think we need to continue to spread the word. And I know our district has been shrinking at a smaller rate compared to many other districts in the area because we are still a desired area of relocation for many people. I think that's definitely an opportunity for us to continue to, again, celebrate and take advantage of. You know, we've got the best teachers, we've got the best district, and I think we just need to continue to strive to do better, do more for our students, challenge them, and just continue to be a destination place among the state. As far as our challenges, our biggest challenges that we faced, I feel, on the board have been negotiating contracts. For the last 6 years now, we've had several contracts that many of which have gone long, long after when it probably should have been settled. We've been struggling to sustain or reach a negotiation or contract that's sustainable long-term. And our expenditures have continued to outpace our revenues. And when we had state restoration, our primary focus was restoring teacher positions, reducing class sizes, and restoring programs. And unfortunately, here we are again having to look at making additional reductions because the healthcare cost just continues to take too much of our budget. It's continued to just grow and grow and grow and be a larger piece of the pie. So I think that's our big focus and opportunity there, is that we need to find a balance for either cheaper health insurance or higher contributions or something that sort that can allow us to maintain and be sustainable. To Bill Powell's point, I know mental health is obviously a major issue right now. An opportunity for us as well is looking at either putting a resource officer in every school district, much like CV, I believe, recently announced in the paper, and mental health support, whether it be psychologists, social workers, and just continue to support the higher needs. Our district and many other districts in the area continue to show higher poverty levels. And like I said, that's a challenge for many teachers that face the higher poverty students, and then all the emotional baggage that tends to come with that, as well as the additional needs for psychological, social support.
Okay, I think that there's a lot of opportunities here in Maine-Endwell. A lot of people want to move into our district. I hear a lot of great things from a lot of community members, even from outside the district. I know when I moved here 13 years ago, we moved here because of the school district. Opportunities that are here is the summer enrichment program for kindergartners, the early kindergarten program that we offer that other school districts around here do not offer, the Spartan Garden that we have here, and from what I'm just hearing, that the Vision branch that's going to be starting at the high school. I think those are great opportunities here at Maine-Endwell. Those are just a few examples. Some of our challenges that I find is the changing demographics, the needs of families here for financial, and the needs for families here socially. Also, what I hear as a challenge is that our UPK program, we have a lot of students signed up for UPK, but we don't have enough spots for our UPK. So I think that is a challenge in our district. And then the budget, which, you know, I do ask, you know, they say we're in a budget crisis again, so why do we occur here? This is something, though, that I definitely will need, you know, training, and as Rikeda just said, how he learned and had to learn all of it and all of the training after he was selected to be a board member. This is an area where I am inspired to learn and willing to learn, and so that's what I see as the challenges, and I think it's a great district.
Thank you. Mr. McCarthy?
Our opportunities are to continue to be a leader in our area, in the region and throughout the state, in providing a strong education for our students, to becoming a destination not just for families but also for faculty. We started out integrating technology 3 or 4 years ago by hiring technology coordinators whose whole sole purpose in the district is to help other teachers integrate technology into their classroom. We are on the forefront in the area. Other districts are coming to us and asking us how we are putting our one-to-one things in place. So to continue to be that leader in education and looking forward at the opportunities that we can provide for our students is a great opportunity for our district, and one that we're continuing to embrace and enhance. Challenges are we have, along with a great community and great students, we have a great administration and a great faculty. Our teachers are paid above average for the region and have some of the best healthcare packages throughout the region, and our challenge is to continue that. We want to continue that. We get amazing resumes when we have openings in this district because other teachers want to work here because of our community, but also because of our offerings. So to continue to offer that and be on the forefront of giving our educators the tools that they need is going to be a challenge. Healthcare is a challenge. The healthcare situation that we're facing right now is due to unexpected healthcare claims. We're a claims-based insurance, so that when we have these multi-million-dollar claims, we have to pay those out. So you can't expect those. We've had $3.3 million worth of that in the last couple of years. That's where we're in the situation right now. Fiscally, we're in a better shape than we have been in years, as far as having restored our finances, restoring our reserves, and being able to position ourselves moving forward. Sitting down, as Mr. Balzinski mentioned, we've incorporated a healthcare task force to look at different opportunities for healthcare. Healthcare, our healthcare insurance is a negotiated item. That's not something that we as a district or as a board can actually sit there and say, here's our healthcare plan. That has to be negotiated with our individual negotiating groups. So we can't determine how many policies or plans that we offer. So that will be a continued challenge that we'll face and hopefully overcome.
Thank you. All right, our next question for Mr. Powell will begin. Once elected, what will your strategy be for conflict resolution, building consensus, and being part of a high-functioning team?
Okay, for conflict resolution, I'm a believer in open communications with the board, with the students, with the staff. For example, with the teachers' contracts, I've come up with an idea maybe to have, a board member being part of that negotiating team. I'd like to volunteer myself to be part of that negotiating team. And that's one thing. Another thing with the teachers' contract being late, part of my goal for the coming year is never to have it late again, to come to the table and negotiate, and let both sides have a full understanding of that. And it's more or less building consensus, being part of a highly functional team. Open communication, being honest with each other, respectful. So that's the basis of what I would do.
Thank you. Mr. Ricada?
Tough question. I think my goal for being elected or re-elected is for conflict resolution. Again, to resonate with Mr. Powell, we need to definitely try to get the contracts settled in a timely fashion. The longer they're drawn out, the more it makes us look bad, it makes the district look bad. So it's very, very important that we can try to find mutual ground and understanding and meet everyone's needs, continue to be a desirable place to work, where our teachers are well compensated and have a great benefit package, and it's sustainable. As for building consensus with the board, I feel that we do a great job already. I hope to continue to have open dialogue, get as much information as possible, that way we can make informed decisions. And then through that, hopefully we reach consensus most of the time, and if we don't, that's okay too, because we always just move on and accept the decisions that are made.
Mrs. Spooner?
As far as the strategy for conflict resolution, I think that could really vary depending on what that conflict is. If it's a conflict of something happening with teachers in the school, I would go to those teachers and I would be a person that would listen. I would be a person that would communicate. If it's a conflict within the board, like we said, to research what that conflict is, to try to come to a solution. I absolutely agree with teachers' contracts and trying different avenues to be able to come to a decision, to not have that drag on. So it really depends on what the conflict is of how you would address it. But I strongly believe of being a good listener and being a good communicator.
Thank you. Mr. McCarthy?
Finally, my industrial labor relations degree from Cornell comes into play here regarding conflict resolution. So regarding conflict resolution within the board, and that's really the main conflict resolution that, as a board member, we should be concerned about as far as working on the solution. Over the last 3 years as president, there has been maybe some misunderstandings or things like that. I've gone to that individual board member and talked it through, and then tried to work those concerns in through the rest of the board. We've been fortunate in our board that there hasn't been a lot of that. We air our differences in public, as we are in an open meetings law board, just like other governments throughout the state. But regarding conflict resolution throughout the district, that's when we need to turn to our leaders and our administration, our superintendent. If we feel there is something that is not functioning correctly, to push back on that. Certainly we are ears for the community, the students, the staff, to listen to that, but to inject ourselves directly into resolving that conflict, that's not our role in the district. If we are going around our leaders, our educational leaders, and trying to solve issues, that creates a whole new set of conflict that didn't exist. So we have to trust in our leaders and make sure that we're aware of that. The other thing regarding, because it was part of the negotiations and the conflicts around that, one of the things we can do is make sure that we're following the process when we have disagreements. The Public Employee Relations Board, which was established nearly 50 years ago, sets up a mediation process that we as a district follow to the letter. And one of the great things we can do is all parties to show up through that process and to help move the item forward, to listen to third parties when we have a situation that can't be resolved between the two of us. To bring in a third party to help resolve that is something that we've done and will continue to do when we reach that point. But the important part for that is for both parties to show up.
Thank you. Mr. Balzani?
Yeah, there's really only one word for as far as strategy for conflict resolution, and that's compromise. Understanding both sides, you can't always get what you want, okay? There's going to have to be compromise to make things work, and we need to look at that in a spirit of mutual welfare and benefit, a respect for all the stakeholders involved, okay? The teachers, the students, the board members, and the taxpayers, okay? We need to get input from those of a better route of communication. I think that sometimes has been lacking in our negotiations with our teachers, and the fact that it has to go to arbitration and go to the Public Employee Relations Board, as Mr. McCarthy says, to a third party. We really shouldn't need to do that if people are respectful of all the sides and looking at what needs to be done. And hopefully we can compromise and come to an agreement without going to that next step, okay? Because it doesn't look good if you're on the board and you're trying to negotiate this and you're not talking, okay? You're not talking at all, and I don't think that's helped us. And trying to get all the stakeholders involved and looking at all their sides and then coming to a compromise decision.
Thank you. All right, we're going to return to Mr. Rekieta, and our sixth question is, how would you prevent personal interest conflicts from influencing board decisions and policies?
I think it's important to always just take a step back and look at the bigger picture. I may have a personal opinion about something, but I try to educate myself as much as possible regarding the issue or matter at hand, listen to all stakeholders involved, and then try to make the best informed decision that ultimately benefits the students. That's the end goal here. We want to try to make sure that we, again, we got the best staff, the best curriculum, and just the ultimate goal in mind, always looking at the big picture, making sure that, one of the things that we worked on was creating a mission statement, to deliver a premier education to every student. So that's something that any decision that we sit down to make, we always try to have that at the forefront of our mind. How does this make the education better for every single student at Maine-Endwell?
Mrs. Swarner?
I'm very involved with the community and with the school districts. So I know that I would try to not have my emotional or mental attachments to what decision we're supposed to be making, and that I will always keep in heart the families that I know, the students that I know, and that my decisions are based on everybody in this community. That it's not just based on what I want, and also, it's also going to be a discussion, obviously, amongst all of our board members. So it's things that I would also hear other opinions just amongst our board members. So I know ultimately it's not even my decision. So I would always, also step back and take a look at the picture as a whole, thinking of the community members, the stakeholders, the students, the teachers, the administration, and base my decision upon all the information that I gather.
Mr. McCarthy?
I think going into this position and being on the board, the first thing you are aware of and need to be aware of, that you're serving the community, you're serving the district, and it's not about self-interest. The fortunate thing is that a board is made up to help combat that by having 7 members with equal say. So if someone is trying to bring a personal interest into play, that can quickly be, hopefully, removed from the equation. Regarding influence, I think it's important that we hold ourselves with great integrity as board members, in that we don't try and solve the issue with direct input, bypassing our educational leaders, because we have to know that we hold some weight with our words, with our actions and what we say. So for us to go and try and impose a personal thought to a teacher, to a staff member, to an administrator, without first vetting it with our superintendent, can lead to some mixed messaging. So we have to hold ourselves with some integrity in knowing that we serve on a board and we serve kind of above that. Now, the situations that we have, Mr. Ricada has, myself, Mr. Powell, actually everybody on the board has had at one time where they have to approach somebody in the district with an issue with their own child. And the thing for that is that, yes, you're a board member, but you're also a community member and a taxpayer and an advocate for your child's education. So on that level, I follow the same process that anybody in the district should follow, and that's through the line of chain of command. If I have an issue, or my child's having an issue with a teacher, that is a conversation I have with the teacher. I don't quickly go and run to the principal or run to the superintendent to deal with that, because again, that puts a situation where you're using the weight of your position and trying to influence something improperly. So the transparency of open government, the transparency of the board of having to negotiate and discuss everything that we're talking about aside from executive session topics in public helps vet those personal interests from being overwhelmed in the situation. I think one of the great things that we've done over the last 5 years with our board is integrated even more policies to be as open and transparent by putting as much as we can digitally through our websites and social media to help inform and keep everybody up to date.
Thank you. Mr. Bolzani?
Yes, we're all human beings. We all have our own natural biases, whether we tend to look at them or not. And I think what we have to do is it's just a self-reflection. You have to look at yourself and see, what you're doing with a particular topic, and always ask one question. For me, it comes down to one question only. What is in the best interest of the students? Are my actions, are my behaviors, are my speech, is it in the best interest of the students? And that's how you avoid your personal conflicts, is to look at the students and what their needs are above all else.
Thank you. Mr. Powell?
Yes, I've been very fortunate with this board that we don't have anybody who comes on board pushing their personal agenda, personal interest at all. We've been very fortunate with the board we have. But if it did come up, I think we respect each other to talk openly about it and to take that out of the mix, out of the discussion. I've become more of an active listener over the last several years. I was always a good listener, but I've become more of an active listener. So I'm pretty keen to what's going on, what's being said, and not afraid to bring it up to the other board members, so, yeah. I would say the personal interest conflicts from our board have not taken place.
Thank you. We're doing very well on time, and listening to all of you is very informative. So I think we have at least until, we'll end certainly by 8:30, including time to be able to have refreshments. But there's 2 additional questions that I would like to pose, which I think would be helpful for all of us to know your responses. So the first one is, being a school board member is a challenging and extremely impactful position. How do you feel about attending workshops, training to gain additional knowledge for your role?
This is an easy answer. I am excited about it. I feel inspired. I did speak to a previous board member, and she informed me about how there is a training after you are elected. I think it might be a weekend workshop, and that made me feel better about running, because that is something that I definitely know that I will need, so I'm excited to attend that. I'm excited to learn. I'm excited to, I feel inspired to be able to have this position, to be a board member, to be able to have a great impact on this community, to be able to have a great impact on the school districts. So I have absolutely no problem attending any workshop that's presented to me, any training that's presented to me, because I want to be the most informative that I can be.
Thank you. Mr. McCarthy?
The one thing that we impress upon everybody in the district is professional development. We put aside funds in our budget to make sure that our staff, faculty, administration receive training to keep themselves aware of what's happening. And as board members, we have the same obligation to make sure that we are continually making ourselves aware of trends and keeping ourselves informed and learning. I've spent the last 6 years doing quite a bit of that, attending the New York State School Board Association convention, where there's several workshops over the last few years. There are great webinars that come our way, not just from school board associations, but also from our comptroller in dealing with the finances throughout the state and what's coming. Being aware of what's happening on the legal front, and I think that's more important now than ever before. I've given up, gratefully, I take on average about 2 weeks of my own personal vacation time to make sure I have the opportunity to travel. Earlier this year, I was down in Washington, D.C. in front of Claudia Tenney's office discussing public education. I'm the legislative representative for our district and meet with Fred Akshar and Donald Pardo, and we're making some headway. About 3 years ago, when I sat in a roundtable discussion with Commissioner Aaliyah, we discussed the state talking about tying evaluations to student scores. And that is something that administrators, board members, and teachers alike all rose up against and pushed that from becoming a reality. Now we're fortunate right now that Donald Pardo has put forth a bill, has co-sponsored a bill to put more control back in the local district's hands, which you think about how many school districts exist in New York, over 7,000, with very varied needs. Local control of a school district becomes very important, and self-determining our teachers through an evaluation process rather than a generic one-size-fits-all evaluation process that's been proposed in the past is not one that we need to. So it's an ongoing thing. And what's fortunate for me, I believe, being in distance education technology now and working at Cornell University, both my career life and my role here on the school board kind of intertwine. So I'm able to get excited about the things that we're doing here in school and talk and reflect upon how that helps my work and vice versa. Things that happen in Cornell that I can bring back to the school are something I really enjoy doing.
Thank Thank you. Mr. Balzani?
Yeah, I feel that continuing education, workshops and training, it's absolutely essential, not only for professional growth on the board, but also for personal growth. One of the things that I've done personally is I try to listen to one TED Talk every day. Just broaden your knowledge in so many areas that I never knew anything about, and it's just interesting to hear people of that caliber giving ideas and things for that. So it's one way on a personal, it's essential on this, for our board to attending. I know as part of it, we have to attend the financial workshops, which are given by the state board, and I think that's critical, essential to functioning as a board. And I have absolutely no problem attending any workshop or training.
Thank you. Mr. Powell?
Yes, as a lifelong learner, this question is perfect for me because professional development is very important, not only to the teachers and staff around here, but also the board members. I've been fortunate enough to go to the last 6 years to the National Convention for 2.5 days. And it's got a variety of workshops. You can go to any workshop you want. We spread out, try covering different workshops with the board members that we go. Actually, I thought I was one of the most attentful to these type of workshops until I met Todd. Todd's outdone me by attending. He attends so much, it's incredible. But myself, as a lifelong learner, again, I didn't feel like I needed some training, but I went through it and I found it very rewarding, very worthwhile. So yes, definitely support that.
Thank you. Mr. Mercado?
I'm a firm believer that education is a lifelong process. You never stop learning. I know I spend quite a bit of time trying to just read different articles and viewpoints on politics, things that are happening federal, state, how it impacts me professionally in banking as well as education, to highly influenced professions in politics. I know I spend a lot of time reading different material, whether it comes from a superintendent or from NISBA, New York State School Boards Association. They offer great workshops, resources, and I know we spend quite a bit of time as a board as well, meeting, doing workshops, professional development, and I plan on continuing to do that, taking every opportunity that I have to attend different professional development opportunities.
Great, thank you. We have one final question. Being a board member is really being a visionary. And the children that entered kindergarten this year will be graduating in the year 2030. And what will we be doing to prepare those students for the year 2030? Because it's going to look very different than it does now. So I will start with Mr. McCarthy. What is your vision for education in the future for the Maine-Endwell district?
Well, I think we're on that path. I think we're on that path of looking for the future needs of our youngest students and setting up programs now that will benefit them as well as benefit the current students at this point in time. We're looking at involving our local businesses in work-study programs. We are doing more in bringing college classes and college credits into our high school to allow our students to graduate with some credits and to have a leg up. In some cases, maybe even be close to an associate's degree. The technology that we're doing now is going to continue to expand and grow through our, not just our district, but as we have computer-based testing coming into the state, but it's more than that. We have kids coming into school right now, and the thing they know how to do is they know how to swipe up or swipe down, almost as an automatic instinct when they see a screen. So we have to meet those students on that level, and that's the vision. The vision is, what can we do moving forward? How do we meet the next generation of students and give them what they need for the future? And that's going to take hard work on our part. We just had a technology strategic planning committee meeting and looking at a 5-year plan for our district and how we're going to incorporate technology moving forward. But it's more than this, that too, because now we alluded before to mental health, and there's a different set of anxiety that I think we see with some students coming through. And how do we address that? How do we address that as a district? I think we see our district attempting to become more involved in providing some services, whether it's through BOCES or whether it's here on campus, to help with that. And maybe it's training, maybe it's something, but moving forward to really serve the student's mind in every feasible way, with technology, with support. And again, it's going to take all of us to continue to look at new ways, redefine what our roles are, and what we have to learn, what we have to know. This almost directly relates to the previous question in keeping ourselves informed and educated. Everybody throughout the district has to do that to push ourselves forward, to empower and engage and graduate our students, not just this year, 10 years from now, 20 years from now.
Thank you. Mr. Lasani?
Yeah, I see a vision for our Maine-Endwell School District where we include a better inclusion of our community outreach, especially getting more parents involved. When a child comes home to a parent who's in 5th grade and the parent has a college degree but cannot help them with their math because they don't know how it's being taught, it's a new way of teaching. So I see a vision where we can include the parents in this educational process also, to show them what's going on, to invite more parents to the Board of Education meetings, to reach out to them more. Technology obviously is a huge, as it's just going to keep growing. It's getting faster and faster, consuming more of our lives, and we need to get keyboarding for our students, which is a big factor which we're working on now. We need to look at other ways where the technology can help us and assist us, okay? What we're doing now, we need to get an input, vision. I see a vision for the district where we have more input, okay, from all the stakeholders, a better communication with our teachers, okay? I hope I see a vision where children can speak freely about what's going on and what's happening. I think sometimes we don't include the children and talking to them on a regular basis and getting together with them. Even in the elementary schools, you see children that have fears that aren't sometimes addressed, and they feel afraid that they can't come to a teacher or an administrator. And I see a vision where we can reach out to these children, and especially the children in need, more in need.
Thank you. Mr. Powell?
Yeah, of course, technology is a big influence that we have to watch for. But besides the technology, I think the hands-on approach to emotional well-being of each student, to get to know the students and give them an avenue to talk to somebody. If it's not the teacher, it's not an administrator, maybe it is a retiree that's coming in to work with the students. But I think besides the technology, you have to have the well-being of the students and catch it early enough, keep them going.
Thank you. Mr. Ricada?
I look back 15 years ago and see what education was back then. My daughter was entering kindergarten at the time. The latest and greatest technology was a flip phone that had texting capabilities. So it's very hard to imagine what education might look like in another 15 years. But I can say this, much as I stated before, education is a continuing process. Professional development is key. As technology continues to change and evolve and adapt, so do we. We need to continue to be educated, continue to stay at the front of whatever the latest and greatest is, to prepare our kids and students for the future and what that brings. Excuse me. Like I said, I feel like we do a great job of that. All right. Always call it that.
We're in a technology era, so obviously our vision has to deal with technology.
And I once was in a school, an elementary school, speaking with a teacher, and he said to me how a parent, just was expressing concern, like, why is our kids on technology so much, And he said, well, think about your child who is in whatever young grade, and that child is going for has graduated and is going for an interview and has not had the proper technology training. If he's going for an interview for somebody else that has had all that proper technology training throughout their public education, who's going to get hired? So it is important that we stay up to date and we do have a vision of how to move these kids along with technology. I do feel that we need to make sure it is incorporated at a young age. Just a little personal story. My daughter, who's in 4th grade, was doing a New York State report, and she had to type up directions of where to go and what she could do at this place and so forth. And she would come home and express concerns because she had to type like this, trying to find each letter, because she did not have the proper keyboarding experience. So she would come home frustrated because, she's only in 4th grade, and this report was taking a very long time for her. So I think my vision is to just make sure that we do have the proper training and the proper technology that's going all the way through kindergarten, through graduation, and just to keep up with this technology era.
Okay, Mr. McCutcheon, we started with you, right? Okay, we have completed the questions that have been put before you. I'd like to give you each just a couple of minutes opportunity, your last opportunity to be able to say why you should be the one elected to the Maine-Endwell Board of Education. Mr. Rita.
I get to
Okay.
start. Okay. Like I said, I've learned a lot with being on the board. I've learned a lot about the education process. I've learned a lot about the budgeting and how that works. I think it's important that we continue to have that at the forefront of our mind. We need to continue to put students first as our #1 goal. We need to be a great place to work in order to continue to provide a premier education. We need to be able to reflect back on our histories and learn from our mistakes, and we need to try to make sure that we can be sustainable. We've got a great district and a great community, and I hope to continue to represent that.
Thank you. Mrs. Spooner?
Unlike state experience, my experience is community related. I am very invested in this community. I have lived here for 13 years. My kids are very young. They're going through the public education. I've mentioned that before. And so that makes me invested into this school district and invested into the public education system. I do have a bachelor's degree in child and family studies. I was a preschool teacher prior to starting my family. I do have experience of dealing with teacher conferences and parents and having to go through a budget with that. I have experience of me and another mom. We started a vacation Bible school program from startup. We were able to do fundraisers and get that to be a free program for people. I volunteer with the PTA in the schools. I am a volunteer Maine-Endwell soccer coach. So I have a lot of volunteering in this area. And I find that this is a great way for me to have a better impact into our schools. To be able to, I think the volunteering of what I've done is great and important, but I know that I can have a more impact on what's with this district. So I feel that I am qualified. I am really looking forward to this opportunity. I'm looking forward to learn more about it, and that's why I'd like to be part of the school board.
Thank you. Mr. McCarthy?
I was talking in front of a group, a class at Binghamton University, discussing the role of a Board of Education member in education. And one of the students asked me, what's the most rewarding thing of being on the school board? What do you like the most? being involved in the school board, I have my own kids, and as you all know, as those of you that are parents, your kids are the best kids, my kids are the best kids. You know, we all know that individually as our parents and our kids, right? But as a school board member, as we've seen the programs develop, as we've seen different things instituted, I find myself becoming fans, a fan of kids I haven't met before, just seeing what they accomplish and seeing what they can do. And it seems like every year there's a new crop of great students that are coming through with amazing talents and an exceptional enthusiasm for moving forward and pushing us forward. This is a generation right now that I think is a lot more engaged than maybe some previous students. There's a student voice that's out there. We have in our own district, the superintendent has a student advisory committee that was recently put in place where students are getting their voice put in place. So, and here I am on the school board for the last 6 years and completely embracing every opportunity I've had and becoming a champion of public education, moving forward now and involving myself on the state and federal level and trying to push for that. So, for me, the work we've come so far over the last 5 years in rebuilding the finances of a near bankruptcy 5 years ago. There are still some things that need to be settled. We do have to work on the sustainability for our district with budget-wise. But making sure that the next generation of students have an opportunity similar to the ones that the kids are enjoying right now and will enjoy hopefully beyond any member of the school board and their service. That's what drives me to continue to be on the school board, is our students.
Mr. Bolzani?
Yeah, I feel I have a unique set of skills and life experience that I could benefit to the board and for our whole district. Substituting for me is a wonderful experience. I see the dedication that our teachers give to our students every single day, as do our principals, and that see what these teachers have to go through, okay? Meeting in the morning, setting up meetings with parents in the mornings because the parents can't get there, okay? And seeing a child, just watching him, and when the light bulb goes off, and when they say, aha, gee, I understand it now, thank you, okay? That is worth every penny, and I think that's one of the things that being a board member is really going to help me grow as a person and grow and help to reach out to the community. It is that opportunity for those children that makes it all worthwhile, all the time and energy that you put into a volunteer job. And I've had some of my friends tell me, why are you doing this? This is a completely thankless job. You're only going to get grief. And I don't see it like that at all. I see it as an opportunity to help our teachers and all our stakeholders involved, the students, the teachers, the taxpayers. And I see it as an opportunity to grow, to learn more about from the people who have the experience in these areas, to learn about the budget process, to learn what needs to be done to communicate and get our ideas across with mutual respect. And I see that as being a lifelong accomplishment, and I thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Powell?
I always mention that sometimes it's a thankless job, but being on the board has never been that for me. Every day I enjoyed it. My family can attest to that. I enjoy it. The only thing I enjoy more now is volunteering at the schools, because seeing those little kids just learn every day is just incredible. So that's the only thing that's better than being a board member, is being a substitute or a volunteer. Thank
There
you.
is grandparenting in your future. That may be on yours as well.
Yeah.
I just want to say that we've all heard tonight all of your passion, your willingness to serve, to learn, and to make a wonderful district even better. And I truly commend all of you for your willingness to put your foot in the water and say, I want to be one of those people that makes a difference. And I can say from my own experience, and this is not about me, but it's about you, is that I've been a board member for 33 years, and the reason I've been a board member for 30 years is because it is not a thankless job. It's the most important volunteer job that I can think of, and you will make a difference, and you will impact the future generation of children that are currently here, and for as long as you are here, as long as you basically walk the talk that I've heard tonight. So I'd like to thank all of you, thank all our guests for coming this evening, and please, we have some refreshments, and for any of our guests that are here, I'm sure that our candidates would be more than willing to speak to any of you that would have any questions. So thank you very much.
Thank you.